we have a very high score for hope, love and happiness, and going down through amazement, relief, longing, distress, down to irritation, envy, and finally hate, disgust and shame. So it's quite a logical sequence of emotions, it seems to me. So then this was the other diagram I wanted to show you, in which oh, maybe I did show you this one. Did I show you this one? No. Okay. Well, here this is the distribution of scores for language from about 450 words that I doused, and you can see this is the neutral area of 7 rotations, and the next histogram is the distribution of words in scientific documents. Now, the point I would make about this is that all of the emotional words are eliminated in scientific documents because they will prejudice the conclusions of the research. There are some words that show up here, like philosophy, cosmos, science, spirit, religion, friends, miracle, thinking, everything. These come out as high-level words, and there are some high-level names: Odin, Salvador Dali, Thor, Gandalf from the book by Tolkien. There is Caesar, Luther, Quetzalcoatl, the Prime Mover, Apollo, Venus, Aphrodite and Zeus. These are 3 old gods that get very high scores. Now, I couldn't understand why they would have high scores, because nobody worships them anymore. It seems like the values being doused are coming from the implicate order, because they don't come from my experience. I don't think about Zeus, and so I'm inclined to think that we have here a relic from a distant past, and that when a subject enters the implicate order, it doesn't remove, it stays there. That's my conclusion from this particular thing. It's a very tentative conclusion, but so there we are done. So then, after training in prana key detection, I can sometimes detect fluxes of key particles with my hands or even with my hearing, and this has helped me to set aside my skepticism about this particular study. Obviously different people have different sensibilities, and a group experiment was desirable. So I managed to arrange an experiment in Sweden comparing English words with Swedish words of the same meaning, which were dowsed by 9 Swedish participants. Although these Swedish dowsers were very new to the game, they got similar numbers of rotations for Swedish words as I got for the same meaning in English. Okay? So this preliminary study confirms that the methodology has potential for linguistic studies. Where am I now? Oh, I'm going backwards. All right. Now this was my rank scores for a list of English words. I got low scores for scream, lazy, house, and customer, and I got high scores for family, friends, fate, and joy, which seems more or less a reasonable thing to happen. And then I compare this with the Swedish words scored by 9 subjects. Of course, there was quite a lot of variation in their scores, but if you look at the bottom, the equivalent word in Swedish, and I put the English word here, not the Swedish word, scream, pills, lazy, Thursday, simple, and at the top we have high scores, smile, together, laugh, and joy. So it's very similar with more variation because there are more people doing the study. So I think it's quite a reasonable confirmation that this is not just my behavior that's giving scores, it's coming from other people. Now, of course, we need to do more of this. This is not a definitive study, but it shows something very interesting. Now, here, if we have a Swedish friend who is here, could look, and I think we have andlig, familj, hem, eld, etc. These are scored by the Swedish group on this line here, and I scored them in Swedish on this line, and it's obvious that I don't understand Swedish because I got the same score more or less for every word. So that does suggest that there is no common word that everybody understands. You understand the words in your own language, but the meaning of the words, the meanings of the words in their translated form is very, very similar, and the indicative results were compared with Stuart Chase, who concluded in his book A Language, Thought and Reality, there is no one metaphysical pool of universal human thought, since thinking is relative to the language learned, and speakers of different languages see the cosmos differently. Well, I tend to agree with that in one way, sense, but I don't agree with it in another, because the translation of the words was giving similar scores. So that was one of the conclusions. The other thing that I thought was worth talking about was the band of rationality. This was the group of words that fall in the range 6 to 12 rotations, or 6 to 10 rotations. For example, in science we would use words such as measurement, solids, titration, and so on. All of these have a very, very narrow range of energies, vital energies, are low, relatively low. I refer to these as the band of rationality, and words from science text are in this range. And obviously the omission in scientific texts of words that have emotional context cannot be a coincidence. Rational thought is supposedly biased if emotions enter the scene, and emotions would either be higher or lower than rational thought. And perhaps the dominance of observation over credos or beliefs was the main gift of Galileo to science, because Galileo said, I observe this, I cannot agree with the Vatican that they say that the Earth is the center of the universe. It doesn't fit with my observations. But how are we going to describe phenomena incorporating high vital energy using scientific procedures? This is, I think, the other thing that comes out of it. Now, here I come back again. Okay. So this is the band of rationality. You have a range of 7 to 10 rotations. Within this range, you have words like rational, logical, list, data, methods, consequence, result, argument. Above this or below this, you have lower emotions, hate, envy, shame, disgust. And above this, you have higher emotions, hope, love, and joy. And also further up, you have spiritual words. So this, I think, is really an interesting thing. Now, I started to talk about this, which is that asked the question if I could douse phrases and not just words. And here are two phrases. The purple is the phrase score, and the word scores are in blue. The first one says, I hope you are all safe and sound. So hope, safe and sound are very high, and they are more or less the same level as the phrase scoring. Down the bottom, however, I have got a beautiful gesture turns ugly. Now, the ugly is a low energy word, and it brings the energy of the phrase down to a low level. So it's not simply averaging the words scores. It is actually the key word in that phrase is a low energy word. So here I started to read these ones. So the band of rationality, which gives a score from 7 to 9. Examples: the postman delivered the letters. That has no emotions in it. I parked at the 3rd meter from the corner. That has no emotions in it. Taxpayers and planning agencies have been active. 9. So these are low scoring, but they're within the band of rationality, I would say. Now, socially correct sentiments score higher. Love your enemies, do good to them who hate you. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, Mr. Armstrong said on landing on the moon. Great necessities call for great virtues, and I think that was an American politician who said that. The government of laws and not of men, again, an American politician. These are quite moderately high scores. And then you get into spiritual sentiments. As I walk through the wilderness of this world, I now realize that cynicism and judgment are hazardous to my health. In other words, being cynical about other people's opinions is bad for you. What do we mean by the phrase, I understand? Well, obviously we don't understand anything, so that's a mystical statement, really. I mean, when I say I understand, you do understand something, but you don't understand everything, probably. We are hyperspatial objects that cast a shadow into matter. That scores very high because it sounds extremely mystical, and it may actually be true. All of these phrases came from books. They're not my phrases, by the way. In order to know something, you must experience it. That's a very high thing. And I like this last one. Primitive man does not know an inanimate world. In other words, for primitive man, the world was animate. It was not inanimate. There was nothing inanimate in it. So those came out as very high. So then I showed you these phrases here, and I showed you my conclusions. And I don't think I want to say any more at this point. So I thank you for the chance to add to my presentation. Thank you.